so. But certainly it was something they were looking at, and they would have had to vendor that out. They would have had, so the Aetnas and Anthems would have had to vendor it out. And so an example would be Mission Health Partners, the ACO here, as I mentioned, also has some contracts with some other plans to manage their Medicare Advantage populations in this geography. So those members, we'll just say through United as an example, get the same benefit of all of the things that the Accountable Care Organization brings to bear. And in addition to that, they've got, the ride sharing. My big issue is I don't have a way to get to the doctor. Well, we make that happen. They'll go pick me up and take me to the doctor. And we vendor that out. Obviously, our paramedics are not picking you up and taking you to the doctor.
Got it. And do you calculate the ROI for that type of service? Because, one of the, challenges that we heard is, yes, you do need to address social determinants of health, and it definitely has an impact. And I think intuitively everyone will agree that it makes a lot more sense to buy a refrigerator, versus having that person landing in the, in the ER again. But do you measure that, or you it's the right thing to do, and you're doing that, but you're not really tracking the return on investment on this service?
So I don't know the level of specificity. I'm just going out on my computer to see if something's out on the internet or not. But a lot of that work, especially I think the ride share, was originally funded through grants because the ACO is not for profit. So they are able to receive grants. So that, I believe, a lot of the funding came from community grants to start that work. But they should be tracking. But I don't know what the ROI is. I'm actually just going to see if something's on the web, and if it is, I'll tell you where to find it. That might have it in it.
Got it.
Are you talking about the ride share program to get people to their medical visits? There's a couple of
right that was initially funded through grants. Yes,
through grants. Yeah, and then there's a couple of really innovative companies on each coast that are trying to leverage almost like a Uber like Lyft like model to deal with the medical transportation component, especially for that managed Medicare population.
Exactly.
So,
yeah,
aware of that. I do have one question because I know we're coming to the top of the hour, and I want to be respectful of your time. If you were, we call this the magic wand question, right? If some benefactor were to say, Alexandra, I'm going to give you a couple $1 million to go out into the marketplace and build a business to support either from a health plan perspective or even more of an accountable care kind of risk-bearing entity perspective, to go build a service that where there's a need for these risk-bearing entities, where would you invest money?
I need a little bit more direction. Sorry, that was so broad. I'm like, I don't know where to start to answer that.
Well, and I think maybe you talked to sort of technology integration as being a pain point. So basically, what are some of the pain points that you think that or that you'd be interested in hearing from a third-party partner in them offering up a solution around?
Yeah, I'm just not feeling original, so I appreciate your pointing me back, because I think that's still the answer is the technology space.
That's great.
So if you just all the things that we've talked about and the social determinants of health and the clinically integrated approach, because you can sit there and say, here, Alexander, here's the medication, we're sending you home, take it. But if I have a million reasons, don't have the refrigerator, don't have, the awareness of the importance of taking the medication, as prescribed, in those intervals, and find myself back, in the hospital, that doesn't serve any purpose. But it's knowing that there are all of these different components, whether it's, the food, the transportation, legal, housing, et cetera, that really are having a much greater influence as to whether or not I am that compliant patient. And finding, and so having a way that all of those things can talk and be integrated, talk to each other, communicate, and be integrated. And so that's some of the work that the Mission Health Partners, has done, as I mentioned, and actually has integration with the legal services, et cetera. But the huge firewalls that have to go up as to what they can access about the patients.